You know how the Webbot recently was talking about CERN, the particle collider, causing earthquakes, and it would lead to China having some pretty big ones, and then China, accusing the people at CERN for causing these earthquakes. We're not there yet. But again, the way the Webbot works is it knows when it says here's a prediction, here's what we're talking about, what we think is going to happen in the future. Essentially what it's saying is there's going to be a talk about this in the future, whether true, false, or whatever, there's going to be talk about it. And the more we think we're going to hear talking about it, the more it becomes a prediction for us. And then once it hits a certain threshold, they realize, okay, Cliff High realizes, I'm going to put this in a report because enough data has come back that we think this will definitely be talked about in the future. And here's what we think it'll actually be, you know. So, first time I read this, it was posted today. It's actually on godlikeproductions.com. CERN's lead ion collisions creating deep focus earthquakes now. These ultra deep earthquakes should not exist, folks, since there are no rocks on that depth. The only thing that may cause them is that a particle ray is beamed into Earth's core. On the other side of the core, an explosion is caused in the lithosphere. So he says there's a 7.6 earthquake. This is from USGS data, so anyone can look it up apparently. 7.6, 210 kilometers south of Taraca, Brazil. Depth 611 kilometers. When's the last time you ever heard of an earthquake that damn deep? 7.6 near Peru, 600 kilometer depth. Another one in Peru, 616 kilometers. Another one in Peru, 600 kilometers. Two of those were yesterday, one was today. The first one was a 7.6, the second one was a 4.5, and the last one was a 4.6. These are in depths in excess of 600 kilometers. Massive depth. You do not hear earthquakes like this happening. Now, so it started to begin happening this week when the Large Hadron Collider started to accelerate lead ions. When they are not used, the accelerated beam is dumped into Earth's core. So he posted a link to earthquake.usgs.gov. He says, pin this, man. The government should not be doing this and stop the experiments immediately. So CERN all of a sudden starts using these lead ions, right? And then all of a sudden, we have these deep earthquakes. And once again, let's focus back on the Webbot. It said you're going to start hearing about the activities at CERN with their particle collider causing earthquakes, and he said China specifically is going to come out when they start happening in China, and China's going to say we believe it's because of what CERN's doing in the experiments, because we can tell when they're doing the experiments we're having earthquakes. You know, please cease and desist. That has not happened yet. However, this is the first time I just heard of this. They just started using these lead ion particles or whatever. Anyways, what are the chances that you do something like that, we do something different, and then earthquakes start happening at depths of absurd levels? Levels you normally never hear an earthquake happening at. So, I mean, this is a Webbot hit in a very early stage of one, because we still have to wait for China and potentially other countries to say, hey, wait a minute. it appears that you guys are causing these earthquakes in our country with this device over you got over there in CERN, Switzerland. So again, that hasn't happened yet, but it just started. No country's going to make the connection that damn fast, unless you got someone like us running that country waiting for something like this, because we happen to have a webbot report and we know in advance to keep look out for something like this. You know, then in that case that country would be 2 steps ahead of everybody else. But no, they're filled with normal people, reactionary people, who wait to the last minute to figure anything out, and then when they do, it's too late. But I guess once they start having these absurd earthquakes and they start realizing, hey, this is happening when CERN's running its tests with that particle collider. Oh, and they use this new thing, this lead ion deal. Huh. Or maybe an alert citizen notifies their government of these things, and then the government catches on. In either case, it doesn't matter. So all we need now is for China, or literally any country, to accuse the people at CERN of causing earthquakes on essentially of an official level. Once you have that, absolute solid webbot hit. But I'm mentioning this right now because somebody, yes, online, has mentioned it, and it's posted the earthquake data that shows these absurdly deep earthquakes happening when CERN is running with this new lead ion particle. Again, I'm not a big fan of coincidences, okay? You know, let's face it. Especially when you come to realize that there's too many things that there's no way we're coincidences. It's really hard to jump on the coincidence train when a real coincidence actually happens. And in this case, I don't think this is going to be a real coincidence. You can't have something like this happen and then all of a sudden these absurdly deep earthquakes start happening right when CERN changed something and is running more tests. Ain't no way. So I just want to share that with you. You can take it with a grain of salt if you'd like, but I think it's more than just a little grain of salt that I'm going to take it with, because again, I've seen way too many webbot hits happening, happen and recently. So do I need to add this to the recent one? Are we at like 6 out of 7 now hits in the last 2.5, 3 months? Jeez, take care.